What's up everyone, it's Brady here with Gonzandoak and Nova Training, and let me tell you, I am super excited for this video. We're going to talk about progressive overload. Now, I'm gonna be very honest and say that this is probably the key to long-lasting success in fitness. And I know that sounds super clickbaity, but honestly, I cannot stress enough that if you understand progressive overload at a deep level, then that literally is the key to success in fitness. I would say easily about 95% or more of people that go to the gym do not implement progressive overload correctly. And because of that, only a small percentage of people are seeing the results that they could be seeing. So I really can't stress this enough. This is gonna be an awesome video. And if you learned something, make sure to take that 2 seconds, click the thumbs up button, and let's get into it. Oh yeah, and real quick, down below in our description, we actually are giving away our core development program for Nova Training. So right down below in the description, you can get a free core development and ab development program. So make sure to grab that. It's free, so why not? But let's get going. We're gonna go quick to keep it entertaining, so try to keep up, and I'm really hoping that you learned something good here. First, we wanna define progressive overload. Progressive overload is simply an increase in workload over time. When implemented correctly, you will never have to worry about plateauing in the gym again. I think that's very common that we work really hard in the gym and then we just plateau and we're stuck there for months. But implementing progressive overload is gonna help you to never plateau again, no matter what style of training that you're into. So progressive overload is simply an increase in workload over time. So what is workload? Well, specifically when we're talking about lifting weights, resistance training, we're referring to workload as the amount of reps we do, times the amount of sets we do, times the amount of weight we do. This little stick figure right here is gonna represent you in the gym. Our bodies are really cool because when we give our bodies a stimulus, represented by this little bar right here, our bodies will adapt to it. If we give our bodies a new stimulus, then our bodies will adapt to that. Now, this is the equivalent of growing in the gym. If you're trying to get bigger muscles, this would be the equivalent of lifting more and thus growing more. If you're trying to get stronger, this would represent lifting heavier weights and thus getting stronger. This stimulus that we're talking about right here is our workload. So the workload is a stimulus that we give our bodies and then adapt to. Like I said, in lifting weights, it's usually the equation would be reps times sets times weight. But if you're a runner, let's say, then the equation would be something more like the intensity or speed that you're running at times the distance that you're running at. If you're doing strength, then it would probably be more focused on the intensity or weight that you're using, more so than the reps or sets and things like that. Now, we're gonna describe some of the biggest mistakes that we see. These are mistakes that as a personal trainer, I have seen at least 95% or more of the people in the gym making. Understanding this graph, on the left right here, we have the workload. L means a low workload, H means a high workload. This is the exact workload that we're talking about right now. Reps times sets times weight. Right here, we're talking about weeks. Right here, I have 6 weeks because that represents a standard mesocycle or training cycle. There's 2 big mistakes I see. One is someone finds an easy workout and they do that program every single week. And over the span of 6 weeks, this is their progress. They started here and they ended here. The second biggest mistake I see is people finding very hard workout programs and they do it every single week. And what's crazy about this is we'll actually see by the end of it, because the workload was too high, they ended up getting fatigued, and over time, their progress has actually decreased. Now, if we were to implement progressive overload in a correct way, a program should start at a low but moderate workload, and each week or 2 should have a very small increase. Then over time, we have a steady increase, and by week 6, we've actually have increased our workload a pretty decent amount. The important key here is that this happened slowly over a month and a half, because this gives our body the ability to then actually adapt to it. Now, if we were to make those mistakes that we saw earlier, where we give ourselves too high of a stimulus, our bodies are not able to adapt to it. But by slowly integrating more reps or sets or heavier weights, we're able to slowly add the stimulus to our bodies and then adapt and overcome them. The next mesocycle that you do, or 6-week training cycle, you would then start maybe about here or so and build up over the next 6 weeks to maybe here, thus increasing your work capacity and your workload again and adapting and growing to a brand new stimulus. I didn't want to get too in depth with periodization, but the act of starting back here on a new training cycle and building back up here is what we call periodization, which is key because during this portion where you're almost redoing a workload that you did in the last training cycle, this is key to adapting and overcoming a stimulus. So we see one of the biggest mistakes that people are making are simply not making a calculated addition to their current workload, thus challenging their bodies to adapt to a new stimulus. So what I'm trying to say is make sure that every single week you're trying to add to your sets, reps, or weight. Now the easiest way for hypertrophy training or trying to build bigger muscles is by adding additional sets. But make sure that at the end of your mesocycle, you actually take a step back, making sure that your body's adapting to the stimulus you're giving it, thus actually growing and seeing results, and then build back up from there. I can't stress enough, guys, this is the secret to long-term success. Hopefully this gave you a bit more information on what progressive overload really is, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will answer them. If you learned something new here, hit that like button. If you have anything to add in the comments, please leave it below, and we will see you in the next video. Peace out.